a Western farmer who decided to move his whole family to Russia.
Wow.
And he's putting the entire thing on YouTube.
It's interesting. It's not just the where, but the why. Right. We're seeing a lot more people who are kind of disillusioned with like the mainstream narratives, you know?
Yeah.
And they're looking for different ways of doing things, different systems. This is a really unique look into that.
Let's break it down. So this farmer, his name's Erin. He's actually from the Netherlands originally.
Oh, wow.
But he spent most of his life in Canada.
Okay.
And now he and his wife, Anna, and 8 of their 9 kids.
9 kids.
9 kids have moved to Russia.
That's a lot of people to move.
I know, right?
I mean, it makes you wonder, like, is this move about, like, securing their future? Or is it about, like, getting away from what they think is like a decline in the West?
Right.
Their oldest son is 22. He's staying in Canada for now.
Okay.
But this is very much a family decision.
9 kids. I can't even keep track of like my to-do list. But seriously, uprooting a family that big is a huge decision.
Huge.
So why Russia?
Right.
Like, what is the appeal?
Well, Erin is very vocal. About how unhappy he is with Western media. He says it's biased and manipulative.
Interesting.
And he really likes RT News.
Okay.
Which is funded by the Russian government.
Right.
He thinks it's more straightforward, less opinionated.
Okay.
You could say that he's gone from like one echo chamber to another.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other...
We're going to do a whole deep dive on that another time.
Exactly.
So the media shift was the catalyst.
It seems like it.
Makes you really think about like where we get our information from and how that shapes how we see the world.
It totally does. It shapes your worldview.
Right.
But also, it seems like there's something deeper going on, like a need for stability.
Okay.
Like some shared values.
Right.
So Erin feels like Russia is more aligned with his ideals.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to family.
Okay.
And what he sees as more faith-based society.
So like traditional values.
Yes.
He even mentioned like Russia's strength on the world stage and compared it to other countries with like similar values, but that maybe don't have that geopolitical clout, you know?
Yeah, he wants a place that can stand up for itself.
Like a place that can stand firm.
Exactly.
It seems like he sees Russia as like this bastion of strength in an unstable world.
Totally.
But it's not all ideology, right?
Right.
I mean, there's some practical stuff too, like the fact that Russia has a similar climate to Canada in some places.
That's a huge help.
Right.
Starting a farm is already hard.
Yeah.
And then you add in like a whole new climate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally different growing season.
It's a lot.
It'd be huge to do.
And especially for a whole family.
Yeah, yeah.
Multiple generations.
Exactly.
It's a big move.
But keep in mind, he's only been there 2.5 weeks.
Right.
And he gives this interview.
So very early.
Yeah.
Super early.
Maybe still in the honeymoon phase.
Right.
So honeymoon phase aside, what are his first impressions?
Well, he was really impressed by the Russian countryside.
Okay.
The beauty of it.
Okay.
He said it felt like home.
Interesting.
And he also thought the people were really friendly and helpful.
Okay.
Even though there was like a language barrier.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I bet that goes a long way.
Oh, totally.
Like if you show up somewhere and people are welcoming.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Even when everything else is unfamiliar.
Huge.
So did he say anything about like the culture shock?
Yeah, he actually mentioned that the grocery prices were a lot lower than in Canada.
Okay, that's good.
But the city life was tough.
Okay.
Like they're used to being in the country and being independent.
Right. Yeah.
So having to rely on like public transport with 8 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I can imagine.
He described it as being like a chicken with a bunch of little chicks in the yard. Yeah. Trying to keep everyone.
I can just picture that. Like the chaos.
Total chaos.
But in all that chaos, he felt safe.
That's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
He talked about letting his kids walk to the store alone in Russia.
Yeah.
Something he'd never do in Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah.
What does he chalk that up to?
Well, he said that people's attitudes towards like belongings and theft are completely different.
Okay.
He said people just leave their bags.
Wow.
Places with no worries.
He
was really surprised by that.
So a sense of security is a big plus for them?
Totally.
But like you said, it's early days.
Very early.
So who knows?
How they're going to feel once the honeymoon phase is over.
Yeah.
So we know why they moved. We've heard his first impressions.
Yeah.
But what are they actually planning to do in Russia?
Well, Aaron.
Yeah.
He wants to farm.
Right.
He wants to, like, recreate and even expand their farm from Canada.
Okay.
Like the whole thing.
So all different kinds of crops?
Yeah.
Livestock?
The whole thing, yeah.
So not just focusing on one thing.
No.
He wants to diversify.
A diversified approach.
Okay, and why is that? He thinks it's more resilient. Like, if you have different sources of income, it's a safety net.
Makes sense.
Especially when, like, the global market is so unpredictable.
Exactly.
And it also ties into his worries about the food system in the West. He really believes in being self-sufficient. Right. Knowing where your food comes from.
And I remember reading that his wife, Anna, is really into canning and preserving.
Yes.
So it seems like it's really a core part of their lifestyle, this whole food security thing.
Yeah. And knowing what you're eating.
Right.
But it's not just about feeding themselves.
Right.
Erin wants to, like, sell their food too.
Okay.
Directly to people.
Okay. So like a farm to table kind of thing.
Farm to table.
So they're not just building a farm, but also a community.
Right. Like a community hub.
Yeah.
It's ambitious.
It's a huge vision.
It is.
But how are they actually going to do it?
Right.
In a foreign country.
A whole other country.
Like what kind of challenges are they going to run into?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about next time.
Okay, great.
We're going to dig into, like, the challenges of setting up a farm in Russia.
Okay.
The cultural hurdles. And if their big dreams can actually survive.
Awesome.
The reality on the ground.
I can't wait.
Stay tuned. So we're back.
Back in Russia?
With Erin and his family.
Yep,
as they're trying to build this new life.
This new life.
This new farm. And like maybe even a new way of looking at the world.
It's a big whoop.
We left them facing all these challenges.
So many.
Government bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Finding the right piece of land.
It's like a real life farming game.
It really is.
With like levels and challenges.
Yeah. And I bet every level has like new obstacles and crazy encounters.
So finding the right place to put down roots.
Right. Literally put down roots.
That's not easy. It's a big deal.
So what were they looking for?
Right.
In this, like Russian farmland paradise.
Okay. Well, obviously they needed space.
Okay.
Like a lot of space.
Acres and acres.
Acres and acres.
For all the crops and the livestock.
Yeah, that diversified approach takes space.
But it was more than just acreage, right?
Right. It wasn't just about the land. Okay. They also wanted, like, a community.
Okay.
A place where their family would fit in.
Right, where they'd be welcomed.
Welcomed, and where they could contribute.
So it's almost like they're looking for, like this agrarian utopia.
Kind of.
Where these old world values meet this sustainable future.
That's the dream.
Did they have, like, a specific region?
They were looking at...
In mind.
The Krasnodar Krai.
Okay.
In southern Russia.
I've heard of that.
It's known for its fertile land.
Mild climate. And a long history of agriculture.
So it's like Russia's breadbasket.
Exactly.
Krasnodar Krai. Yeah. That's where all the
sunflowers and the black earth soil.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect for growing.
That's the good stuff.
Basically anything.
So they saw this as a place where they could really become a part of that lands.
Become part of the community.
And that farming community.
Yeah.
But they weren't naive, right?
Yeah, not at all. I knew it would be hard.
To be this foreign family.
A foreign family?
Trying to set up a farm.
Yeah.
In a country with, like...
completely different language,
laws, customs.
I mean, I can't even imagine.
Right.
Like...
It's a lot.
Going to the DMV.
Yeah, exactly. In another language.
Let
alone trying to buy property and...
setting up a business.
Build a business.
In a whole different system.
Did they mention any concerns about that?
Yeah, they knew there'd be hurdles.
Okay.
Like, especially with the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Getting permits, licenses.
Yeah.
Understanding the land ownership laws.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's complicated.
But they seemed pretty determined.
They were determined.
Just figure it all out.
To make it work.
Like, they were confident that...
They believed their farm
skills and their experience...
outweigh those obstacles.
It'll be enough.
Like, they had that pioneer spirit.
That can-do attitude.
Ready to, like, tackle the wild unknown.
Let's face the unknown.
But even with all that optimism, did they get any pushback?
Interestingly, they found a lot of support from individuals. Like the Russian people they met were really eager to help, like offering advice.
Okay.
And even practical assistance.
So like that personal connection.
Yeah, personal connection.
Can really make a difference.
It can.
Even when everything else feels strange.
Feels totally foreign.
Yeah.
What about the government though?
Well, Erin mentioned that he had good interactions with local officials.
Okay.
And they seemed interested in their farming expertise.
So maybe they saw this family as bringing something new?
Something new and different.
To the table?
Yeah, a fresh perspective.
Okay, so...
And Russia has a long history of agricultural innovation.
Right, so maybe they're open to new ideas?
Open to new ideas?
But let's be real. I mean, not everyone's gonna...
Of course not.
Welcome them with open arms.
Some people were skeptical.
Okay, so what were they skeptical of?
Well, some questioned their motives.
Okay.
Like, were they trying to change Russian agriculture?
Okay.
Impose Western practices? Or, like, disrupt traditions?
Right.
And others worried about, like, the cultural differences?
Okay.
The clash between rural Russian life?
Yeah.
And, like, a big Western family?
Right. It's like, where's that line?
Yeah, it's a fine line.
Between cultural exchange and, like, cultural imposition.
Exactly.
So how did they deal with that?
Well, Erin was really clear that they weren't trying to westernize Russian agriculture.
Okay.
He said it was an opportunity to exchange knowledge.
Okay.
Like a two-way street.
So learn from each other.
Learn from each other.
Share what they know.
Exactly.
And also learn from the Russians.
Because Russian farmers have so much experience.
Right.
So he wanted to learn from them.
Okay, so a collaborative approach.
A collaborative approach?
Recognizing that
both sides have...
But both sides have something to offer.
To offer.
Yeah.
But even with, like, the best intentions.
Right.
Setting up a farm in a foreign country.
It's a huge undertaking.
It's a huge...
It really is a massive project. So what were some of the biggest hurdles?
Okay, well, first they had to find the land.
Oh, okay.
And they had, like, a whole list of requirements.
Soil quality,
water access, proximity to markets.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they had to be able to afford it.
Right.
So can you imagine trying to get a loan?
From a Russian bank.
From a Russian bank.
As a foreign family.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm stressed out just thinking about it.
I know, right?
So did they run into any problems with, like...
They had to?
Financing or land ownership?
Learn the whole Russian legal system?
I bet.
Which is not easy.
No.
They needed translators.
Yeah.
Legal advisors to figure out all the laws.
About land ownership.
Land ownership, zoning.
Oh my God.
Business registration.
It sounds like a nightmare.
It was definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, like, miscommunication.
Right.
And those, like, lost in translation moments.
I bet.
Definitely.
But it sounds like they were resourceful enough to...
figured it out.
Figure it out.
They were persistent.
Okay.
Flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a good sense of humor.
Okay, so it wasn't just about knowing how to farm.
It wasn't just about the farming skill.
But also, like, being able to...
Right. You needed mental agility.
To this whole new system.
Exactly.
So what happened once they...
Okay, so once they had the land...
Finally got the land.
That's when the real work began.
Okay, so then it was...
Clearing the fields.
Yeah.
Building structures.
Eating equipment.
Sourcing equipment.
Buying livestock.
Yeah, getting the livestock.
And
planting those first seeds. All while adjusting to the new culture.
And making sure the kids...
8 kids...
Just run away.
Don't disappear.
That's a lot.
It was a lot to juggle.
So it was this constant...
balancing act.
Yeah.
Between, like...
the farm and the family.
The needs of the farm.
Yeah.
And the needs of the family.
And it wasn't always easy. Yeah. No, not always.
I mean, farming is tough.
Farming is tough anywhere.
Anywhere.
But especially.
Especially in a new place.
In a new place.
With all these new challenges.
With new challenges.
So how did they deal with those...
They had to.
Bumps in the road.
Really lean on their community.
Yeah.
Like their neighbors.
Yeah.
Other farmers.
Like if you've been there.
People who knew the land.
Yeah.
Who had experience.
And they didn't lose their sense of humor.
That's important.
So they saw each challenge.
Yeah. They saw it as
a learning opportunity.
That's a chance to learn.
That's incredible.
It's impressive.
What about the kids though?
The kids.
Did they, like, share that sense of adventure?
The kids were actually really involved.
Okay.
They help with chores, learn new skills, And they like really embraced the new culture.
That's amazing.
They were. Imagine the stories they'll have.
Oh, I know.
From this whole experience.
They'll have stories for days.
Learning Russian, exploring the countryside.
Exploring a new place.
Building a farm.
Yeah, it's like a childhood adventure.
It really is.
On a massive scale.
But through it all, it sounds like they found
joy in the simple things, like exploring the markets, meeting their neighbors, experiencing the beauty of the Russian landscape.
So they were building more than just a farm.
It was more than a farm.
They were building a life.
Yeah, a life, a community, a sense of belonging.
It's amazing how
it's really
humans can adapt.
It is.
And persevere.
And find happiness.
Yeah, even in like